To the Word of God this morning. I want to continue to speak on mental health and wellness. Today I want to take the next few minutes to speak from the book of Ruth, chapter number 1, verses number 1 to verses number 5. I'm going to try to go through the book of Ruth very quickly in this particular sermon, but I'm going to read verses number 1 to verses number 5 of chapter 1 as the passage that we're going to use this morning. I'm going to read from verse number 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to dwell in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to a country of Moab and remained there. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left in her 2 sons. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So the woman survived her 2 sons and her husband. That is the reading of the word of the Lord. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for your word. And I thank you that you are still speaking today. May you speak to us in the power of the Holy Spirit. And may you use me today. In Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So I want to take a moment to again continue with our series on mental health. As the first week of this series, I spoke in general on mental health. And the second week, which was last week, I spoke on this on the theme, I'm tired, I need a break. And this week I want to speak from this particular passage and say, I am really hurting right now. I need a true friend. I'm really hurting right now. I need a true friend. And again, as a disclaimer, I'm okay. I do really, honestly, God has blessed me with a lot of friends, and good friends. In the network of our pastors here in Southern New England, God has blessed me with very good friends who calls me and say, hey, are you alright? What can we do for you? And I can do the same. And even beyond our network of pastors in this community, I have my own friends from the seminary that we meet up every month for coffee and just spend hours, just talk and just encourage one another. So, on that front, I'm okay. But I wanted to use this particular theme just for each one of us to contextualize it wherever we are in our journey. I am really hurting right now. I need a true friend. Mental health and loneliness. The truth of the matter is that There is a truth to the fact that we, no matter where we are, we can use good friends. We can use true friends. Unfortunately, most of us suffers in silence and in isolation. And sometimes we try to make it sound very simple. Say, you know what? I go to church. You know, after church we have meals and we, you know, laugh and we share. But if we can be honest, some of us can sit there and bless ourselves when we are hurting inside. When we are feeling very lonely inside. That's the truth of the matter. We can be gathered together at a very big conference. We can gather together here as a church. We can have our spouses close to us, but still hurting inside. So that's why I wanted to use this theme. I'm really hurting right now. I need a true friend. Because friendship is very important for our mental health, whether we want to admit it or not. Unfortunately, sometimes we come to this friendship thing with the mentality of me and Jesus is enough. That is a lie. That is a lie from the enemy who wants to pull you away from the road. To lie to you to say you and Jesus are one. No, that's not how God made us to be. God made us and designed us for companionship and also within the community. This may be a little bit different in a different context, but in Genesis we said, God said, after creating man and animals and all these things, said, no, it's not good for man to be alone. Now, I understand that in Genesis he was talking about a different context, but again, in general, loneliness is not healthy for anybody. I'm not sure if my clicker works, but I'm going to try. Oh, there you go. Research, medical research, has discovered that there is benefit in physical touch and human contact for even premature babies. I think most of you who are very medically inclined, you begin to understand what I'm saying. And even parents who will begin to understand that for our children, for infants, physical touch and human contact is very good for their development. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, relationally, it is very important. And it is because of this discovery, some hospitals are changing their procedures, or have changed their procedures from actually incubating premature babies in a room somewhere in the machine things, and they begin to say something is not right because there is something that children are missing. So they're saying they have adopted what they're calling kangaroo care. I'm not sure if I think most of you know, or most of parents know. Kangaroo care is whereby the baby is just in the diaper, and they take the baby in with the father or mother and have a skin contact, and let the baby just rest on your cheek or on your bare skin. That's what they call kangaroo care. And most of the hospitals, they are adopting this, whereby they're trying to abandon the incubation machine thing, because it's where kids are isolated. There's no human contact. Where the kids are now within the community, in a caring community, in a caring environment with their either parents or whoever they may be with. And that has proven to help the kids heal faster and develop faster in every aspect. So there is a danger to loneliness, even in infants. Oh, we're getting somewhere. And there is also loneliness in a lot of us, as I said earlier on. World Health Organization, they did a social research, and they discovered that World Health Organization found out social isolation and loneliness are widespread, and they have a very, very serious and recognized impact on health, well-being, and society together. The report found out that 1 in every 6 people worldwide, 1 in every 6 people are affected by loneliness. That's a very big number. In 2023, the statistics show that about 17% of adults between the age of 18 to 70, they report loneliness. 17% in the US. That's a very high number. In the UK, they have discovered that actually loneliness has actually caused the loss of personal income from between $8,000 to $12,000 a year, because loneliness can cause unproductivity. And in the UK, they found out that there are individuals who are hit seriously with loneliness. They are actually losing $8,000 to $12,000 a year. In total, in the UK, actually, they found out that employees are losing about $3.14 billion a year because of loneliness. Because when loneliness causes unproductivity, and this is the amount of money that people are losing because of loneliness. In addition to that, loneliness caused about 30% increase in heart disease, stroke, dementia, depression, and anxiety. Loneliness can cause about 30% increase in that, which means having good and true friends around us would help us to reduce heart diseases, stroke, dementia, depression, and anxiety. So when I say I'm really hurting right now, I need a true friend. Not just friends, but true friends. It is something that we need to think and to think critically and begin to ask ourselves questions that are very critical for our financial health, mental health, emotional health, and all other areas of health. From the book of Ruth that we just read, I want us to take a close examination of 3 levels of relationships that restored 2 broken women, 2 broken, hopeless, and helpless women in this story. I know I want you to believe that the story of Ruth and Naomi is not a very new story for most of us. We have heard people preach from it. We have read through it before. Some of us have taught from it many times. But I want us to take a very close look at 3 things that I think are very important as far as relationships and friendships are concerned. But before I do that, I want you to understand the situation in which these 2 women found themselves in. The story is, this passage we read is very, very clear. This family was originally from Judah, in Bethlehem. So there was a time when there in Judah, in Bethlehem, Judah, there was a famine. There was a struggle for food. Life was hard for the people of Bethlehem. As a result, this family moved to another place. So they moved to Moab. They moved to Moab for the sake of food and safety. I think we are living in a day and time, without being political, we found ourselves in a situation where there are a lot of movement of people from one place to the other. And that is one of the big issues in Washington, D.C. right now. But the idea is that there are people that are moving around for the sake of something better. That's exactly what happened with Naomi and her family. They moved from Bethlehem to Moab. And if you understand the context here, when the word Bethlehem means the house of bread. But now it happens that the house of bread is dry and empty, and people are now moving from the house of bread to another place else. But also, just for the sake of this conversation, the name Judah means praise. So Naomi and her husband, they are moving away from a place called praise, the house of bread, to a strange place. And I think you and I have to understand that there is a very good reason why this is happening. They are not just trying to go somewhere and cause trouble. They are looking for something. They are trying to searching for something. They are in the very survival mode. I just wanted to point that out. Now, as they were there in the strange country, Naomi, her husband Elimelech, and 2 boys, something happened. And the head of the household, the husband, died in a strange country. Now, Naomi is left in a strange country with 2 boys. And then the boys grew up in this place, and they found themselves wives from this same country of Moab. So now, not too long after that, the Bible reports, something happened again. That the boys, Naomi's children, boys, died again in the strange country, leaving a single woman vulnerable in a strange country. I'm hurting. I need true friends. This woman is hurting. She has lost her husband and she has lost her 2 children, 2 sons, in a strange country. She's hurting. She's in pain. And she decided, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot live in a strange country anymore. I need to go back to my home country. I need to go back to the place called praise. I need to go back to the place called the house of bread. Because now my source of support and strength and joy is gone in a strange country. I cannot live here any longer. I have to go back to my people. That's the context. So now Naomi is hurting so bad. And she needed friends. She needed somebody to come along with her. She needed somebody to stand by her side. So now she began the journey back home. But as she's trying to do this, she's not only thinking of herself, she's thinking about her 2 daughters-in-law who have also suffered loss. And she said, listen girls, I think my time here is up. Allow me to go back to my people. And now, because of the present situation, I understand you also need to go back to your parents' house. Because your fathers will be able to take care of you until you find another husband. I want you to do that. Do me a favor, girls. Would you please go back? And 2 of them say, no, we don't want to leave you alone. Because we understand what you've been through. Because we have been through the same. So we don't want you to be alone. And she insisted, say, no, listen, guys. You're too young. I'm way over. But you guys are too young. You have a chance to get married again and to continue with your families later on. So please, let me go back to my people and you go back into your father's house and somehow God will come through and will bless you. And they say, no, please. He said, no, I insist. And one of them opened returned back and went to her family. But I want us to understand the first level of relationships here for Naomi was Ruth. Because in my point number one, point number one of the level of relationship is that Naomi and Ruth cared for each other deeply. Naomi and Ruth cared for each other deeply. So again, that's not Naomi and Ruth. That's not Naomi and Ruth. That's not Naomi and Ruth. That's Rodi and Ruth. Okay, so but these two women cared. I'm in so much trouble. I know that. Naomi and Ruth cared for each other deeply. Naomi and Ruth cared for each other deeply. And this is very important because Naomi is hurting. Naomi is struggling. Naomi is in the place where she has lost everything she holds so dear. But this is the interesting thing, that in the moment of real of hurt and pain, Ruth, the daughter-in-law, she's looking at her mother-in-law and saying, "Listen, I've heard you ask me to leave you and to go to my house, which I can do, but I want you to understand this. I want you to understand that I do not want to leave you alone. I do not want you to go anywhere alone, because I understand your struggle. I understand what you're saying, because this is what Ruth said. No, my daughters, chapter number 1, verses number 12 and 13. No, my daughters, return to your parents' home, for I am too old to marry again. And even if it were possible, and I were to get married tonight and bear a son or sons, then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not, my daughters. Things are far more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord himself has raised his fist against me. This is Naomi. No, I want you to go back. I want you to, because I'm too old, and this is on me. It's my husband, it's my children, and you have the chance to go and get married. And Ruth responded, a very, very, very famous passage. Don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Don't ask me to leave you alone right now. This is not the time for you to be alone, because I understand the level of pain and suffering that you have gone through, and I do not want to leave you alone and let you leave you alone. And she continues to say, wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Mm-hmm. Your people will be my people. Mm-hmm. Your God will be my God. Yeah. That's very powerful. Mm-hmm. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death separate us. That is the first level of friendship that Naomi, in her time of pain, in her time of loss, in her time of suffering, she needed somebody who would commit herself to her to say, you know what, I know exactly what you're going through. I understand exactly the pain that you're feeling. And it is not good for me to leave you alone right now to face this challenge by yourself. Then now the question that I want us to begin to think about is this one. Are we good friends enough that we can look at somebody and say the same, similar to this one? Say, no. I understand. I know you have messed up, but I care about you enough to leave you alone. I'm going to be with you here. I'm going to stand here with you. If you need a prayer partner, I'm going to be here. If you just need somebody to talk to, I'm going to be here. And by the way, whatever you share with me, is going to stay between us. I'm not going to just take it and run around and people say, did you hear? No. You have to trust me enough because I know where you've been. I understand where you've been right now. So therefore, I don't want to leave you alone. But I want you to understand a couple of things here. I know some of you are daughter-in-laws, or some of you are mother-in-laws. And most of the times, the relationship between mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws is not sometimes the greatest, most of the times. But there has to be something, there has to be some character in Naomi for Ruth to say, Mother, no. We are in this together. Because if it was in some situation, Ruth would be like, oh, thank God I'm out of this thing. I gotta go back home because this was a mess in the first place. But there was something in Naomi that made Ruth to say, no. I'm gonna stay here with you. I'm gonna stand here with you. There was some character, there was some behavior, there was some lifestyle in Naomi that was very attractive for Ruth to say, no, I don't want to leave you alone. Then the question is, what kind of friends are we? Because sometimes we can be very horrible people and horrible friends that nobody wants to hang around with us because of who we are, because of our character, because of our behavior. And there's something that I think we can learn here if we are to be the people in the community whereby people will be joyful to hang around with us, joyful to be our friends, to be their friends. There's something that we need to begin to cultivate within ourselves. Because sometimes we can be lonely because we are very horrible people. I'm sorry to say that. Sometimes you can be lonely because nobody would want to hang with us because of our attitude, because of our behavior. We want to put everybody down. We want to drag everybody in the mud. We want to just gossip about everybody. And then by the end of the day, we wonder we are so alone. We don't have friends because nobody really, it has to be a painful in a situation to hang around us sometimes. So my point is that we have to ask God. Say, God, help me in my attitude so that I can be a good friend. So that the people can gravitate towards me to be their friend. But also, when I come into a place, I don't want everybody to just to leave because I make everybody uncomfortable. Not because of what I dress, not because of what I wear, not because of what I eat, but because of how I say things, not because of how I treat other people. I cannot be like this. Naomi had some kind of character for Ruth to say, Mother-in-law, I know my husband is dead. I know your son is dead, but I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to stand with you. Okay, it's very quiet up here, so I'm going to just move on with my preaching. The second point is that Naomi and Ruth were warmly welcomed back in Bethlehem. So in Bethlehem, in Bethlehem of I love that picture. Okay, let's move on before I get in trouble. Naomi and Ruth were warmly welcomed back in Bethlehem. It is very interesting to see that Naomi and Ruth did not only just care about each other deeply, but when they returned back in Bethlehem, women in Bethlehem, they were like so excited to see them. So Naomi and Ruth, apart from having each other, they also have a larger community of women who are really excited to see them back home. Oh, I found this picture too. A community of women in Bethlehem, when they saw them coming from afar, they were so excited to welcome them back into the community. So Naomi and Ruth did not only need each other, they needed a larger community where they can belong, where people are very welcoming and very kind and very warm towards them. Verse number 19, chapter number 1. Now the two of them, as Naomi and Ruth, went until they came to Bethlehem. So they left Moab. Now they are arriving back in Bethlehem. And it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city, can you imagine that? All the city was excited because of them. And the women in Bethlehem said, "Is that Naomi?" With excitement. "Look, this woman was out of here for about 15, 20 years. She was away somewhere. Look, she's back." They were very excited to see them back. And I want us to understand that, yes, we are the people of God. But we cannot stick with me and Jesus' approach to life because God made us to belong in the community. Now, Naomi and Ruth belonged to each other. They cared about each other deeply. But not only that, but also they found a community of women in Bethlehem who were so excited to see them. And they opened up their arms and say, "Yes, come back. This is where you belong." Do you and I have communities apart from this one, which is a very good community? Do we belong to a community where people are excited to see us? People are welcoming us with joy and gladness, not just to smile and when you go, no, but to be really joyful, to be really excited that you belong here. Let me just take a moment and say, I'm happy you belong here, and I'm glad I'm walking my life alongside you, and that makes me very, very, very happy. But the question is, do you feel excited I'm here? Do you feel excited that she's here? Do you feel excited that she's here? Do we feel excited that, yes, we belong to each other in this community? Because this is what Naomi and Ruth experienced on their return back home in Bethlehem. Women were so excited. The whole city was shaken up because these people were out of the city. Basically, we lost them. Now there's a celebration. They are back. They now belong back to us. Naomi and Ruth, beyond each other, they also found a community of people who were very excited. And do you know something, like one thing that I found in this particular passage that was very heartwarming for me and very powerful for me? In chapter number 1, verses number 22 of the book of Ruth, this is what the Bible says. So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. They arrived in Bethlehem in late spring, at the beginning of barley harvest. I stopped there, what? They arrived in Bethlehem during the time of harvest. Do you know what stood out to me in that? Is that if Naomi and Ruth had a better planning, they would have gone back to Bethlehem during the planting season. But they went to Bethlehem during the time of harvest. Yet they didn't grow. They didn't grow any crop. But they are going there during the time of harvest. And still, the women in Bethlehem understood the fact that Naomi and Ruth are coming back to Bethlehem where they didn't even grow any crop. It would have been a point of gossiping. What do they think they're doing here during the time of harvest? Where were they during the time of planting? What are they expecting they're going to harvest right now? But the women, nevertheless, they were very excited. Oh boy. The women in the town were very excited, regardless of the fact that Naomi and Ruth, they are coming back to Bethlehem during the time of harvest. They still open their arms and say, yes, you are welcome back. Don't worry about it. We're going to try to take care of that. We're going to try to figure out how we're going to make it work. But welcome back nevertheless. There was no judgment. There was no ridicule. There was no sarcasm. There was nothing. There was no meanness. It was just pure joy. You are back. Thank you. Welcome back. No meanness, no sarcasm, just pure joy. That started to be very, very close. I'm like, wow, that is very powerful. That was very powerful. And I want you to understand that you need a community. We need a community. And because of the community of faith has to be a place where our mental health can be well because we belong to a community. And I pray that God will make this community of faith to be a place where we are warmly welcoming people. That to the degree that whatever they're experiencing home, whatever they're experiencing at work, whatever they're experiencing in their own communities, no matter what that may be, when we come together here, we have to feel that I'm at a place where there's no judgment, there's no ridicule, there's no sarcasm, there's no meanness. There's just a community where we can be free, where we can be free to be who we are, truly who we are, and experience growth together as the people of God. Because this was very important to me when I read this particular passage. I'm saying, wow, the whole city was excited. Women were very welcoming to their fellow women who were actually not part of this community for some time. And there was joy, pure excitement for this moment. Ruth and Naomi had each other's back, and they cared for each other deeply. I'm really hurting right now. I need a friend. Do you really have a friend? I'm really hurting right now. I need a welcoming community where I can be myself in what God is doing in my heart and be able to grow with the community. Now this is my last point. Naomi and Ruth were genuinely looked after by the powerful and functioning systems. Ruth and Naomi were genuinely looked after by the powerful and functioning systems. I'll explain that. There you go. When Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem, there were systems in place that were able to take care of widowed women like them. And that is very powerful. That is very powerful because we see a couple of things that are very, very interesting and very powerful in this particular passage. It is in chapter number 3 and chapter number 4. 2, 3, and 4 actually. We are introduced to this man by the name of Boaz. And Boaz was one of the richest people in the community. And he had farms, and he had workers, he had a lot of things. And Boaz, as one of the powerful people in the community, provided and protected Ruth and Naomi because of their vulnerability. We see this in chapter number 2, verses number 8 and 9, but also chapter number 2, verse number 14, where Boaz is providing and protecting these vulnerable women. This is the funny thing. Because of the systems that were very powerful and functioning, Boaz could have taken advantage of a young woman who is vulnerable. Just like we see today. Pastors are taking advantage of the vulnerable and abuse their powers. Politicians, I don't have even to go there. They're keeping everything with themselves when people are struggling to pay for food or housing or medical care. But yet they have the best insurance on the planet. The powerful sometimes easily abuse the vulnerable. But in Bethlehem, the system was different. Boaz, who was very powerful and very rich, began to take care of Naomi and Ruth by providing and protecting them. Read chapter number 2, 3, and 4. You see the beautiful story of the powerful people being able to contain their power and protecting the vulnerable instead of abusing the vulnerable. Unfortunately, we are living in a day and time when the church abuses the power. We are living in a day and a time when the powerful are abusing the vulnerable. Most of you know the Me Too movement and many other movements that have risen from power abuse, from the powerful people and powerful systems. In chapter number 3, verses number 7 and 9, I paused here for a moment and look at what is happening here. The story is very powerful to the degree that I stopped here and said, wow, it had to take a lot of power and strength for Boaz not to misuse his power at this particular point. Because there was a time when Naomi and Ruth, they are kind of trying to strategize. How are we going to survive in this new place again? And Naomi and Ruth sat down and began to strategize. And Naomi, being an older lady, told the younger lady, said, listen, dress up very well, put some perfume on, and then go to the place where Boaz and his workers, they are harvesting. And find and put yourself under his feet. And present yourself to him. Maybe he can find a way of helping you. And the Bible tells us that Boaz was at a party where he drank. And then he came to his tent to sleep. As he was sleeping, drunk, a vulnerable young woman by the name of Ruth went into the tent and uncovered Boaz's feet and slept at the feet of Boaz. And sometime at night, Boaz woke up and said, who are you? And what are you doing here? And she explained herself. And Boaz, as powerful and as drunk as he was able to protect the girl, not even taking advantage of her. Do you understand that? And in the morning, she said, lay down your dress, put it down. And Boaz took food, grain, and put it there and said, take it home to your mother-in-law. Go and eat, go and have some food in the morning. And she went home and said, look at what happened. They are sustained. Because the systems were set up in a way that it protected the vulnerable and the poor. And then chapter number 4, verses number 19. So chapter number 4, verses number 1 to verse number 9 of the book of Ruth. Go and find out. You go and read. You find that Boaz began to fight for the well-being of Ruth and Naomi. Because the systems again were set up to say, if I'm married and then I die, they have to begin to search for anybody who was close to me to come in and take my place to provide for this particular family. In the Bible tells us it's called kinsman redeemer. Kinsman redeemer. So Boaz told Ruth to say, you know what? There's something that needs to be done. And actually I'm going to try to help you to fight for you to find the right person who can take you and provide for you and your mother-in-law. So Boaz took it upon himself to begin to search for the right candidate, for the right person who was supposed to come and take care of these two vulnerable women. And then in chapter number 4, verse number 1 to 9, Boaz found Elimelech. Remember Elimelech? Elimelech's brother or somebody in his family. And you say, hey, don't you know that you are related to this family? The family that just came in from Moab, Ruth and Naomi. It is your responsibility to take care of them as the kinsman redeemer. And the guy said, you know what? Right now my finances are not looking really good, so I don't think I can promise to take care of them, so I don't want to do it. Because taking care of them is going to mess up my own inheritance. So no, I don't want to take care. And then he said, but if you want, go for it. And he said, thank you. He said, thank you. So he began to take care of Ruth and Naomi. But he had to fight for them first. He was not trying to take advantage of them because of their rebellion. He was trying to do the right thing. And this is what Naomi and Ruth found back in Bethlehem. 3 levels. Naomi and Ruth, they had each other. But beyond that, Naomi and Ruth found a welcoming community of women in Bethlehem. But beyond that, there was also a larger system that was there to protect the vulnerable and disadvantaged. And it is because of this whole thing we see that Ruth and Naomi's mindset and mental well-being was very stable and well taken care of. But let's just take a minute here and sit back and begin to realize, to think. What do you think would have happened to Naomi? Lonely, lost her husband, and lost her children. If Ruth was to say, you know what? Hey man, you're on your own here. Because I'm too young, I need to go back and get married. Where do you think Naomi's mental state would have been? She just lost her husband, she just lost her 2 children, and she just lost her 2 daughter-in-laws. Do you think her mental well-being would have been better at this point? No. She would have been very much devastated. But the first step was Naomi said, no, Mama, I'm not going to leave you alone. That helped Naomi. That helped Naomi. And then the second level was even very, very helpful to see that women in Bethlehem, they are opening their arms and say, come back, welcome back, we love you, we miss you, where have you been, how has life been? It helped Naomi to settle back in Bethlehem with better mental capacity. That if women in Bethlehem would say, what are you doing here? You didn't even harvest, you didn't even plant, what are you doing here in this time of harvest? If they were to see Naomi and begin backbiting, if they were to see Naomi and begin ridiculing her because of where she has been and the loss that she has, where do you think her mindset will be? I wouldn't pass the fact that maybe she would have even contemplated suicide. Because she has lost everything and people are against her and nothing is working. There's a lot of noise in this place. We're going to work through. I want us to understand the power of this. I want to show you one more thing as I close. Chris, I think that is key. Chris, come and help us. Come and help us. I think that is key. We need to do something like that because it's getting overwhelming. But Ruth, because Boaz now came in to provide for Naomi and Ruth, and then Boaz became the husband to Ruth. She became a husband to Ruth. And it is from this relationship that we see the baby boy is born. The baby boy is born from this relationship. And his name was called Obed. And you know who Obed is? Obed is the grandfather to King David. From this situation, the son by the name Obed was born. And Obed was the father of Jesse. And Jesse was the father to King David. And Jesus Christ is in the line of King David. Our Jesus, the Jesus that we're talking about, is a descendant of a Moabite woman. And out of the messy situation, out of the painful situation, friendship, true and meaningful friendship, yourself. True friendship are very needed, especially this time in this day and age. Not fake relationships, not transactional relationships, not superficial relationships, but real and true friendships. Because friendships, especially in moments of pain, can be very helpful. And you don't know what it may mean if you stand alongside someone and become their true friend, especially in their moment of pain, in their moment of struggle, in their moments of suffering. So as I'm finishing this morning, a couple of things that I want us to see. Let us ask ourselves these questions as we close. What kind of a friend am I? Just begin to revisit your own friendships. What kind of a friend am I? Do people avoid me a lot because of the things that come out of my mouth or my attitude? Am I always negative? Am I always right and what else is wrong? My opinion is the best. And no wonder people avoid me. Maybe God is speaking to me to change. Maybe God is challenging me to begin to adjust my attitude or to adjust my behavior or the way I do things or the way I talk to people. Maybe. So, what kind of a friend are you? What kind of a friend am I? The second question, maybe which can also be maybe applied to our church here, Cornerstone. Is my community caring and welcoming enough? Is my community caring and welcoming enough? If we can be honest, if you can answer this question without defending ourselves or whatever, if you can answer this question to say, if people walk through the door, would they say Cornerstone is a welcoming and caring place? If we can just answer that question. And maybe if you say, I think we can do better. What are the areas that we can do better for us to be a welcoming church in this community, in Needham, and beyond? To see people flocking through the doors of this church, to say, you know what, there's something there that is very powerful. Yes, the presence of God is there. Yes, the love of God is there, but the people are so sweet and so kind and so welcoming, so caring. What can we do better? Because I do know that we can always improve. What can we do better? Is my community, is Cornerstone welcoming them? Do I belong? Do you belong to a group of people that is very closed? Because we are the same, we have the same level of education. Because we shop at the same store, like fashion. Because we like to eat the same kind of food. Or because I don't drink tea, I don't drink coffee because I drink tea, so now I'm not going to hang around with people who drink coffee because I don't. No. So do we have a very closed communities that people doesn't belong? It's just us for some reasons that we are welcoming people. And this is the last thing that we need to do. Because I think these 3 points are touching all the 3 points I made. Do I care? Do I care when the powerful in the systems, when the powerful people and the powerful systems oppress the vulnerable? Do I really care? Or I say, you know what? I'm safe, it doesn't involve me, I'm good. Do I care when the powerful people in the powerful systems oppress the vulnerable? What that they need one-on-one friend, that they need a community, but also they need the caring systems. And we can play a part in each one of these things. We are living in a day and time when immigrants are being demonized. That's the truth. Just a category of people. Everybody being either thieves or drug dealers or rapists or whatever that is. It's like, come on, that's not true. And it is very hard sometimes when the church is repeating Washington talking points. Do we care when the powerful people and the powerful systems oppress the vulnerable? That doesn't concern me. I have my papers, I'm good to go. That doesn't concern me. I have my everything. I have my medical insurance and everything is good for me. So that's not my problem. Do we? I think we should care. Boaz and many other people in Bethlehem, they cared enough to stand up and do the right thing, to stand up and speak for the right thing. May God help us as a church to be on the right side of history. May God help us as a church to speak up and to speak up when we need to. And I realize that sometimes when the church speaks up, or when people speak up, they become targets. That's the truth. But as a church, we need to stand up and speak up the truth. So there are again 3 levels. We need to be good friends. And may God help us to be good friends. We need to create powerful and meaningful communities where people feel cared for and feel welcome. And we need to be part of the systems that avoid oppressing the vulnerable and the powerless. Next week I'm going to continue the second part of this. The same message. There's a second part to it. But as we leave this place today, what is God speaking to you today in relation to this? 1, are you hurting? Are you hurting? And if the answer is yes, 2 things. Jesus is closer to you than a brother. Jesus is faithful. And you can always cry out to God, I need you. I'm in this situation. I need you. That's the first part. The second part, you can tell somebody. You can speak to somebody in this church. You say, listen, I'm hurting. I'm going through this and this and this and that. And I pray that the person that you speak to will be kind enough to take that as a badge of honor and to say, what can I do? How can I support you? How can I walk with you? So, number 1, are you hurting? This is the community where healing can take place, can begin to take place. You don't have to suffer in silence and in isolation. The second part of that is, do you know know somebody that is hurting, either here or out there, and that they can use you? They can use help. They can use a friend, or they can use a community. Maybe you can be that friend. Maybe we, as Cornerstone, can be that community. What can you do? If you know somebody that is hurting, you can be that friend. But also you can invite them to this community. You say, hey, listen, I know there's no church that is perfect, but I know a place where you can make some friends. They're not perfect, but I think they have very nice teeth. They can smile a little bit. Let's just go there and just sit together with friends and just eat and talk. Maybe you have a place that you belong to. Try to invite somebody who you know they can use a friend. They can use a community. And when we do that, let us become that community that is very caring and welcoming. This is what I had today. And I do hope that God is going to continue to speak in your hearts way after this service is over. Do you know somebody who can use help? Do you know somebody who can use help? Friend. Do you know somebody who is saying, I'm hurting right now and I can use a good friend? Do you know that somebody? And if you do, can you be that